Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today with War Thunder Ground Forces, the other tank game that is now available out on the free-to-play market. It is in fact in closed beta still though, so you can't just openly go join it. If you guys are unfamiliar with what War Thunder is though, it is a World War II based military free-to-play franchise, I guess you could say, that is going to have three separate elements. It's going to have the ground forces, which is in closed beta right now. It already has the airplane portion of it. The flying was one of the first things they launched. It's been available for a couple years now. And they're also going to be adding naval combat, like battleships and submarines and all that crazy stuff, and they're going to integrate it all together, similar to what World of Tanks is also trying to do. But the ground forces portion of the game has been in closed beta recently, and you've only been able to access it by purchasing two premium accounts, the $50 one or the $100 one, which to me was a little bit too steep. As much as I understand the game is free to play, those are premium accounts that give you premium content. You know, I just wasn't ready for that. But they recently announced a $19.99, a $20 package, and I said, I've really wanted to check this game out. I have a huge infatuation with tanks, and you know, been playing a bit of World of Tanks recently as well to try and crave that. But War Thunder Ground Force is something I've really been looking forward to give it a whirl. So I said, you know, 20 bucks isn't anything really. Let's dive in, grab that premium account, get those premium tanks when the game goes open beta, and check this thing out. So I grabbed my friend Hells, he picked it up as well, and we started playing this thing over the last couple days in the nightly server on the closed beta, and man, have I really been enjoying this game. It is a extremely fun experience, and at the same time, much different from World of Tanks. But I figured I'd give you guys my first impressions on it. We go through and talk a little about what I like about it, and just discuss the game as a whole. Now, I'm not going to talk about really any bugs or any of those, you know, small issues, because it is in closed beta, and you know, a lot of people might say, "Oh, closed beta, man." No, Gaijin has a different way of doing things with their game. Essentially, War Thunder is always in open beta, and if it's in closed beta, that just means it's content that they're not ready to reveal to the public yet. And I have a lot of confidence in the Gaijin team. The airplane portion of War Thunder, I think, is absolutely fantastic, and it remains, to me, one of the best free-to-play titles available right now, especially in terms of, you know, balancing that idea of free-to-play and the fact that you still have to make money. War Thunder and World of Tanks do it exceptionally well. So we're not going to talk about any of those issues. What we're going to talk about is, you know, why I have been enjoying Ground Forces as much as I have. Now, how does Ground Forces play, I guess, is a good question. You know, you see it and you look here and you say, oh, you know, I can tell the camera's actually zoomed in relatively close, and you know, it's a very pretty looking game, let's be honest. It also sounds very good, but we'll talk a little bit more about the sound and the visuals later on. But I would have to say it's aimed a little bit more towards the realism side of things. Now, that's not to say the game doesn't have several different game modes similar to the airplane portions of War Thunder. There is in fact arcade, realistic, and simulator, all using I guess you could say, different damage systems. There's small things that are taken away. For example, you actually do have to adjust for bullet drop in this game. You know, your shells, your cannon rounds, your actually ammunition, your firepower is fired at the end of your tank, is actually infected by gravity, so you have to adjust for that. Now, when you play an arcade, there is actually a marker that automatically judges that for you. It also lets you know if you're going to penetrate the target's armor. Basically, it just makes the game a little bit easier. It's not really my cup of tea. I play games like this because I like the realism aspect of things, so I play on realistic, which is in between simulator and arcade, and I think it's the sweet spot. There is no longer an elevation marker. You have to judge that for yourself. There's no penetration marker. Again, you have to judge that for yourself. And all of those elements just sort of make the experience a bit more realistic and gritty, I guess you could say, compared to something like World of Tanks, which is, again, a very good game. Not saying one is better than the other. It's just a little bit more arcade-based. Now, the tanks inside of the Ground Forces beta currently are the Soviet Union, the Russian, and the German tanks. So you guys are seeing a little bit of everything here. I had some footage from the T-34 you're seeing right now, which is the Russian tank, and I also had some German stuff in the beginning, and you're also going to see some German stuff at the end. I started with the Russian side of things, maxed out pretty much all of the stuff over there, started messing with things like the tank destroyer, found out that I absolutely suck at the tank destroyer, and ended up going to the medium tanks, where I sort of found my sweet spot, I guess you could say. Fast, a lot of damage, not a lot of armor. You got to play them sort of like a risky sort of you know, welterweight boxer, I guess you could say. You can move in and you can do a lot of damage and you can get out, but man, if you get hit, it's gonna hurt, so you got to be really cautious there. Now, one of the systems that Ground Forces employs that is much different from other tank games like World of Tanks, as well as just, you know, again, is going for more of a realism-based thing, is the fact there are no HP points. There's no health points for your tank. Your tank doesn't stay alive based on the amount of health it has. It actually stays alive purely based on what components are still functioning. So the inside of every single tank inside of Ground Forces is actually simulated with a crew and all of the different elements that make a tank function. So your engine, your transmission, your tracks are simulated, your turret, your gunner, your commander, your driver. All of these individual components can be injured and also killed, preventing your tank from doing certain things. For example, your turret could actually be disabled to the point where it can no longer rotate, effectively turning your tank that used to be able to do 360-degree rotation to a fixed turret tank. On top of that, tracks again can be disabled. You can be left in the dust and you can have to repair the tracks. Now, in something like Realistic, those track repair times can go up to 4 minutes. So depending on how much damage your tracks actually take, you could be sitting there for a very, very long period of time. Vehicles also start on fire. You can in fact actually upgrade to fire extinguishers for your tanks, which you can then use to put out the fire. But if you let your tanks stay on fire long enough, you will in fact kill all of your crew. They'll burn up. Again, everything is simulated, so you have different armor thicknesses on different parts of the tank. That also means that other tanks can show up and use armor-piercing rounds to penetrate the weaker parts of your tank, possibly one-shotting you, eliminating your entire crew. Yes, not even joking, man. Leave the wrong part of your tank exposed and run into the right tank pilot, tank driver, and it can be just day over for you. So that is one of the really high-risk elements of Ground Forces that I think brings a lot of satisfaction to victory and success in the game. The fact that all it takes is that one well-placed shot, and you can take someone down at the same time. Someone can take you out, or at least disable you. And it adds this whole other element of strategy to the Ground Forces experience. And I think it's, for me, it's the biggest reward factor when I play the game, is that like hardcore element of it, you know? It's the same reason I enjoy things like Dark Souls, you know? The risk versus reward is very great. It's really even. The risk is really, really high, and the reward is really, really, really high. I like that balance. It just makes for a really great gameplay experience. Now, the other side of Ground Forces, the great gameplay and, you know, the intense tank battles and the fact that, you know, you have to learn all of these different tanks and find which one works best for you. They all have their own sort of required skill set, required playstyle to use them effectively. On top of all of that is the nice shiny coating, which is the fact that the game is actually very, very pretty. All of the tanks are extremely high poly count. They have a ton of details on them. You know, from all of the small elements, like a log being slapped onto the side of a Russian tank that may have been used to actually get out of mud, the exhaust being actually there. The tanks do emit exhaust depending on how large they are. You know, all the details on the elements, everything is there. The detail it's insane. The suspension works. Real-time suspension system. Oh, it's so glorious. And then you add the sounds of the game in. This game, they have one other way to make it sound as good as they possibly could. Every small sound is emulated. The sound of a shell ejecting, the sound of a shell firing, the suspension system bouncing up and down, the tracks moving, the turret operating, you know, everything is there, and it all sounds so good. It's just it brings together the entire experience, and, you know, it makes it more than just driving around like, you know, tanks that feel like cardboard and sound like toys, and it just makes the whole experience feel very real, very gritty, and very tense. And again, it just enhances the entire War Thunder Ground Forces experience. Now, can we compare this game to World of Tanks? In my opinion, no. They're two very different games. Again, while this game does have an arcade mode, I feel that it is much more realism based. It's going for more authenticity than World of Tanks, thus making them two very different experiences that I think can be played side by side without any issue, you know, in perfect harmony. That being said, if you are a World of Tanks fan, when this game does go in open beta, I strongly recommend you check it out. If you guys have any questions for me about War Thunder Ground Forces or any of the, you know, anything to do with the time that I've spent playing the game, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.